What's good, everybody? I'm Mr. Peters. In today's video, I'm going to give y'all a review on slope, how to find slope, and what exactly is slope. So, in our first problem, right, they're asking us to find a slope for a line that passes through points 13, -2, and 3, -2. So, the first thing we need to know is the slope formula. And the slope formula is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. And what you guys have to understand about this slope formula, it can be very easy and it could also be very hard. So the first thing we need to identify is x1 and y1 and x2 and y2. And the biggest thing is this, guys, is following the order of the formula. So what that means is x2 and y2 have to come from the same parentheses, and the same thing can be said for x1 and y1. So when I fill this out, there's only two ways I could do this. I could follow the formula and do y2, which is -2 minus -2 again, right? So I did y minus y, and now I'm going to do x minus x. So rule number one, you can't subtract x from y from x. Right? So we set that up, right? And then now we're going to go to the bottom and we're going to set up our x's, which would be 3 minus negative, oh, I'm not sorry, not -13, 3 minus 13, sorry. So that's what we'll get. So now once we simplify, right, this is going to turn into an addition problem. So we're going to get 0 over 10. So our slope would be 0. What we could not do in this problem is do something where we did 13 minus 2 and 2 minus 3. That would be totally wrong, guys, because now we're mixing our x's and we're mixing our y's. So we can't do that, okay? Problem number two, they ask us, or they're saying, hey, we have an equation, and the equation is x plus 2y is equal to -2. And they ask you to identify the slope. So first things first, we can't identify the slope right now because it's not in slope intercept form. So we have to switch it from standard form, which it's in right now, to slope intercept form. And when we do that, we're trying to put it in the equation or the format y is equal to mx plus b. And let's just pause right here. So other words that you're going to hear for slope, you're going to hear rate of change, average rate of change, rise over run. You'll see the variable m that stands for slope, and you're going to see the change in y divided by the change in x. So all these different terms, all these different statements is what relates to slope. So please just remember that. So at this step, guys, we're trying to rearrange the equation and get y by itself so that we could identify what our slope is. So when we rewrite the problem, we're going to move x. So if x is positive, that means I have to subtract it by itself and do so on the other side. And I'm going to have 2y is equal to -2 minus x. But on this right-hand side, I like to keep the variable first so we can keep it in the same format as the formula and so that we won't get confused with the y-intercept as well. So I rewrite the problem now. We have 2y is equal to -x minus 2. And then now for us to get the y absolutely by itself, there's one thing we need to do, which is divide. So we divide by the number in front of y, which is 2, and we're going to divide both x and 2 by 2. So our final equation is y is equal to -1 half x minus 1. Now understand, guys, we switch it over now, and now we have to understand what we did. So when we switch it over in the slope intercept form, we know that that number attached to x is our slope. So we know that our slope, which is m, is equal to -1 half. So please don't forget that, guys. After you switch it over, the slope is the number in front of the x. All right. Okay. So last problem. All right. So in our next problem now, guys, what's going on is that they're asking us to identify the slope for both of those lines. Right. So we have our first graph and we have our second graph. But we're going to focus more on the first graph first. So number one, remember that when we look at slope, when we look at lines, we look at it from left to right. So because this line is trending upwards, right? I know that this is going to be a positive slope. And what I'm going to do after I identify the 2 points that they gave us, I'm going to connect them through a triangle. So now I know my rise over run, right? I'm going to find the rise over run. So I know we went up one and then we went over 1, 2, 3, 4. And what you have to understand about slope on a graph is it's like a map. We're trying to figure out, hey, how many steps up or down, left or right, did we take to get to the next dot, the next point on the graph? So if you looked, I went up 1 point, to the right 4, or if you went from the other dot, we went down 1 and to the left 4. Sorry. So the direction we go up and down to find the slope on the line, that doesn't determine whether it's positive or negative. It's whether the line is slanted upwards or downwards, which lets us know that it's a positive or negative slope. So the slope for this line right here would be a positive 1/4. All right. And in our last problem, biggest thing that we understand is that these two lines look completely different. So if that top one was positive, if we look from left to right on this line, it's trending downwards. So we know that this is going to be a negative slope. So I'll put my negative line out there in front. And now we're going to pick the 2 points on the graph that they gave us, and we're going to connect it like we did the last one by forming a triangle. Let me not say drawing, forming a triangle. So now I know I went down 1, 2, 3. Well, this is a different color. We went down 1, 2, 3, and we went over 1, 2, 3, 4. So we know our rise over run for this is going to be -3/4. So when you're finding slope, guys, remember there's different types of slope. There's a positive slope, negative slope, no slope, and undefined. And the way that we find our slope is we look at it from left to right. Um, if this line is slanting upwards, it's a positive slope. If it's going downwards, it's negative. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. This is Algebra 1 with Mr. Peters. We're going to ask that you like our video and subscribe to our channel if you found the information helpful today. Thank you.